Hello everybody and welcome back. Mr. Youngman here, and today we're going to be going over how to use the Davis and Sanford Vista Voyager tripods. These are the photo tripods that we have available in class, and let's get started. When we're setting up these tripods, the first thing we're going to want to do is unlock the bottom leg in order to make it taller. So we're going to use the 3 clasps at the bottom of the tripod in order to unlock all of them. They may start to slide out on their own, or they may require a little bit of a pull. When we're setting up a tripod, we will always start with the bottom legs. This makes it so if you need to make any adjustments later on, the controls are closer to you and you don't have to lean over as much to make that adjustment. These particular tripods are fairly short, so we're going to repeat the same process for the second and first set of legs at the top. Just unclasping and extending each of the legs in turn. Once we have extended all the legs, we can safely set down the tripod. And a little bit of a pro tip, we always want to have one of the legs pointed towards whatever we're filming. Once we have our tripod on the ground, we want to make sure the legs are spread as much as possible. This gives the tripod the most stability it can have. So just give each of the legs a little bit of a tug, just to make sure it's as extended as it can be. After our tripod has been set up, we're going to want to get a camera on it. To do so, we're going to use a tripod plate, sometimes also called a buck plate or a butt plate. This has a small screw on it that will allow you to screw it into the bottom of your camera. This particular buck plate has a locating pin at the front that is used to help with anti-twist on the camera. This just means that hopefully with these types of buck plates, the tripod and the camera won't end up rotated away from each other. It just helps to keep things that much more stable. On this buck plate, we have a thumb dial that we can use to screw this into the camera. We're going to flick out the clasp on it in order to access it. And then we're going to start screwing this into the metal hole on the bottom of the camera. I'm going to take extra care here to make sure that the locating pin at the front is pointed towards the front of the camera. Now the Canon DSLRs we're working with today don't have a slot for that extra pin. This will really vary from camera to camera. We're just going to make sure this is tightened all the way down. You don't have to overdo it, but you still want it to be pretty secure just to make sure it's not going to fall off your tripod. After you've twisted it all the way in, and we have made sure that the locating pin is facing towards the front of the camera and the lens, we are now ready to drop our camera onto the tripod. I'm going to twist the tripod head so that one side is going to be facing towards me. So we have the bubble level facing on the right side as you're looking towards the tripod. At this point, we're going to drop the camera onto the tripod, figuratively, not literally, by first taking the camera at about a 45-degree angle, flatten it out, and push down. And this time it did trigger the locking safety pin on the left-hand side. It's always good practice to give your camera a little bit of a wiggle after you put it on a tripod, just to make sure that we're not going to accidentally drop the camera on the floor. Cameras can be very expensive, so it's just a good safety habit to get into. Now that the camera is safely on the tripod, and we have made sure that the clasp on the side is pushed all the way in, the camera is now, or the camera and tripod is now ready to use. Let's talk about some basic functionality. Tripods are able to achieve a couple important functions in addition to stability. The first is panning, when the camera is moving either left or right. It's important to know that these tripods have a lock on them. If this lock is enabled, the camera will be unable to pan to the left or to the right. This is a black plastic dial, or aluminum rather, that can be twisted in order to lock or unlock it. In the locked position, turned all the way clockwise, the camera and tripod will no longer be able to pan. When we loosen it by turning it counterclockwise, the camera is now able to pan freely. Whenever we have set up a shot, if we don't plan on using motion, it's generally a good practice to lock down the tripod on any of its axes, such as the pan axis. I'm going to lock this all the way down now. The next important functionality on this tripod is the tilt function. The tilt control should be extending towards you as well. This is the black and silver handle. Right now, if I try to tilt this camera up or down, nothing will happen because it's locked. In order to unlock it, I'm going to twist this handle counterclockwise to unlock it. And now, the camera is able to tilt freely. Tilting is an up and down motion when on the tripod. In order to lock this back in place once I've found my shot, I'm going to just twist the handle clockwise until it no longer is able to turn. And again, if I were to try to tilt now, the camera is unable to do so. Lastly, on this tripod, we also have a roll control. This is on the left-hand side of the tripod as you're looking towards the camera. If I unlock this axis by, again, rotating the handle counterclockwise, this one's a little bit stiff. There we go. I'm going to unlock the axis by twisting it counterclockwise, and you'll see that the camera is now able to roll to either the right or the left side. This is fairly common on photo tripods. This is not normally a function of video tripods, however. And again, to lock that in place, I'm just going to twist it all the way clockwise. This is a really useful control to make sure you're aware of if your camera is crooked. By unlocking that axis, we're able to straighten out our shot so it looks just the way we want it to. One last function of the tripod to talk about is this center riser column. By twisting on this black piece in the center in a counterclockwise direction, we can loosen this column adjustment. This will allow the tripod to go up or down even farther than the legs will allow, giving us a little bit extra height at the cost of a little bit of stability. In order to lock this in place, again, I'm just going to turn this dial all the way clockwise until it can no longer go any farther. Now the camera is again securely locked in place. One last thing for us to go over is how to take the camera off. On the left-hand side of the tripod plate, you'll see that there is this pull pin. This is the same one that we used in order to lock the camera onto the tripod in the first place. By pulling on this pin outward, it will free the camera, and it should again just be able to come off at a 45-degree angle and lift right off of the tripod. And that's all we have for today. Thank you so much everybody for tuning in. I hope you learned something new about how to use tripods, or specifically our tripods that we have for class. If you have any questions at all, as always, make sure to let me know in class. It's what I'm here for. I want to help and I want you all to learn. Thanks for watching and have a great day. I'll see you all back in class.